The adoption of the agenda. Be it resolved that the agenda for the April 21st, 2023 meeting be accepted as presented with the addition of a letter from Keith Elder under communications. Please move that. Councillor Jones, seconder. Councillor McDonald, all in favor?
In favor.
Be it resolved that the minutes of the March 21st, 2023 regular meeting of council be hereby approved as circulated. Somebody please move that. Councillor Hatch, seconder. Councillor Fisher. Errors or omissions?
Your Worship, if I could, during the meeting last month, a question was asked about the grants for wounded warriors, and realized that it isn't Wounded Warriors that we typically pay, it's Northwest Command. So in the minutes, what I have done is put it back up to what the original unallocated amount would be, which was the $805. And we've notified Wounded Warriors that in fact, they don't receive a grant from us.
Okay, so that's noted in those meetings and that's okay. Discussion. All in favor?
Favor.
Be it resolved that the minutes of March 21st, 2023 special meeting of council be hereby approved as circulated. So please move that. Councillor Fisher, seconder. Councillor McDonald. Discussion. All in favor?
In favor.
Under finance, be it resolved that the April 12th, 2023 general accounts payable being checks number 6388 to 6374 in the amount of $64,008.50 be hereby approved. Please move that. Councillor Jones, seconder. Councillor Hatch. Discussion. All in favor?
In favor.
Be it resolved that the direct deposit 257 being staff payroll for the period March 20th to March 31st, 2023 in the amount of $12,101.82 be hereby approved. Please move that. Councillor Corey, seconder. Councillor McDonald, discussion. All in favor?
In favor.
Great. Be it resolved that direct deposit 260 being staff payroll for the period April 3rd to April 14th, 2023 in the amount of $12,174.15 be hereby approved. Please move that. Councillor Corey, seconder. Councillor Jones, discussion. All in favor?
In favor.
Be it resolved that direct deposit 259 being council indemnities for the month of March 2023 in the amount of $7,115.25 be hereby approved. Please move that. Councillor Fisher, seconder. Councillor McDonald, discussion. All in favor?
In favor.
Utility account, be it resolved that April 12th, 2023 utility accounts payable being checks number 985 to 996 in the amount of $9,583.80 be hereby approved. Please move that. Councillor McDonald, seconder. Councillor Corey, discussion. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried. Statement of revenue and expenditures, be it resolved that the statement of revenue and expenditures report to March 31st, 2023 be received as presented. Please move that. Councillor Hatch, seconder. Councillor Corey, discussion. Councillor McDonald.
I just have a question. It's a purchase from Brant Greater Racks. Is that maybe something bleach or something, or you know what it might be? It's for $3,121.11. I just wondered what that was. I'm sure it's something they needed for it, but I just never heard of what rack would be.
Is that to do with the putting the wheels on the one machine because they said it didn't come with the attachment? Like the Packers?
We would have to pull out the payables
Okay,
and take
yeah.
a look at the invoice. We can show you that after.
Yeah, no, that's good. I just had that question.
This March that county lane, if we could pull that off.
But maybe that's the bushings they get too. That might be what it's called. They get them bushings.
We'll get that checked out.
Thank you.
Anything else? All in favor?
In favor.
Be it resolved that bank reconciliations for the month of March 2023 be approved as previously circulated. Please move that. Councillor Corey, seconder. Councillor Jones, discussion. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried. Okay, no delegations, no public hearing. We'll go to communications.
Okay, under the order of communications, we have a March newsletter from Age Friendly Manitoba. There are several communications from the Association of Manitoba Municipalities. They are dated March the 17th, the 20th, the 24th, the 27th, the 29th. There were two on March 31st. They are dated also April 1st, April 5th, April 11th, and two on April the 12th. We have information from Mr. Craig Baird with respect to doing podcasts related to Canadian history. Information from Bell MTS on the Manitoba Public Safety Communications Service upgrade. Crocus Country Economic Development Corps is providing information on the training program. On your desks this morning would have been correspondence from Mr. Keith Elder with regard to chronic wasting disease and deer feces. And at the end, when we adopt the communications, I may need some direction as to if there's any work that you want undertaken on that. Federation of Canadian Municipalities, we've got communiques dated March the 20th, the 27th, and April the 11th. Mr. Peter Hart has provided information on a pilot project for AI in facilities. Manitoba Accessibility Office is doing a 5-year review of the Accessibility of Manitobans Act. Manitoba Association of Senior Communities provided information on Manitoba 55+ games. Manitoba Organization for Victim Assistance provided an introduction to their organization. Minister of Municipal Relations provided two documents, one related to the operating grant payment and one related to the payment in lieu of taxes. Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure provided a letter as well as a very comprehensive book on their investment strategy. And the book is kept on file if anybody is interested. Municipal Relations Bulletin number 9 deals with the 2022 audited financial statements. And number 10 is with respect to transit planning and affordable housing. Prairie Mountain Health provided their April newsletter, a 5-year strategic plan update, and their chronic disease education. And Manitoba Sport provided information on the 2026 Manitoba Winter Games.
Be it resolved that the above noted communications be received. Somebody please move that. Councilor Fisher, second Councilor Fori. Any discussion on them?
Mr. Chairman, I'm just wondering on the information from Peter Hart on the AI pilot, like I don't see a downside to participating in that. It seems like it's no cost and it would have the potential benefit of energy savings, and they also talk about there's some where extending the lifespan of your equipment. So I just wondered, is anybody else interested in participating in that? It seemed like there was no downside to me.
I would support that. I lead the initiative in my company that I work for on AI development in our environment. So I think there's lots of places where it can be used. I think generally there's maybe an over expectation of the true capabilities thereof. It's still just a bunch of algorithms with human input and human results. But there's definitely a place for automation and monitoring and prediction. Prediction modeling is still very new. I think with the unless if we don't embrace the opportunity, I think we can gain from it. It's one of the biggest technological changes I think we'll see in the next 10 years. I don't think it's going to be quite as mind-boggling as some people are hoping, but it's definitely going to have an impact that I think we'd be wrong not to embrace an opportunity to get involved and learn more, at least if nothing else, just learn more.
They come to be contacted with that? Is there?
I believe Mr. Hart provided information on that.
So we'll have administration follow up on that?
What I'm hearing, if I'm correct, Councillor McGregor, is that you'd like to put forward a motion that we participate in the AI program?
You read my mind.
And I don't, is Councillor Fourie prepared to second that? Okay.
You want to vote on that now? You want
We should probably vote on that
all
now.
in favor of that motion? Carried. Okay, the other one was the audits that have to be in by June. Elaine, we're close to the end of ours.
We're getting there, yeah. They've still been asking for a lot of information, and I've been trying to get it to them quickly. Yeah, she said with the email I got yesterday that hopefully that was the last request, so.
So we're close. And that just has end of June, I think, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah, the bylaw and, oh no, that's financial plan. I'm thinking it's the 15th.
No, this is requirement for November. Okay. Anything else? All in favor?
In favor?
And I'm just wondering, is there any direction on Mr. Elder's correspondence?
Yeah, that's, it brings up a whole discussion. That's with deer feces around the recreation areas and everything else where kids are gonna be playing it. That's a daily thing. It's not a weekly thing or a monthly thing. That's a daily thing around the community. There's deer all over the place. So I don't know how we'd ever control it. Unless somebody has some ideas in that category.
You know that regular 4-foot fencing is not gonna do it. You gotta hop over that, so there's no point, the only point of changing or restricting that whatsoever is literally to have somebody sit there and chase them away, which I don't think is practical, or putting an 8-foot fence around the whole entire property, which is not practical either.
It's a huge expense.
Yeah, so I think it's part of the hazard, maybe the answer lies in communicating and educating the population to them. To pick it up and watch your kids if they are around it. And is chronic wasting disease such a big issue yet in our community? No, it's not. It's definitely emerging, but it's not that big an issue yet. So maybe there's a bit of a.
We had, one resident call about a deer that was down. What did they say at, medical
Conservation
conservation?
asked, if the individual who called knew the cause of the deer being down. And he said he hadn't gotten that close and didn't really intend to. So I think they were sending somebody out.
Yeah, I think they just, go ahead, Councilor McDonald.
Mr. Chairman, I was just wondering if we should maybe forward something, or I don't know if we could send this, but something to the rec commission, just so they're aware that's been brought to our attention for the down to ball diamonds, possibly, or maybe in the park. You know, just so they're aware. I'm just thinking.
Oh, we could have the administration send a letter, just highlighting what, you know, what the ratepayer said, but I don't know, I agree, fencing is not an issue.
It's not a new issue. I mean, this has to have been occurring forever.
Yeah.
So the real concern is just potential presence of chronic wasting disease. Every time we have a bit of rain or a bit of moisture, those pellets will decay and degrade over time, you know, so.
Hit them with a lawnmower.
Yeah, you know, the lawnmower when it's dry.
They're not protein. There's no protein in it. But yeah, I don't know what, unless somebody has some really magical answers. My wife would like to know them too.
Yeah, well, but in vegetable garden with flowers, I can tell you what the people in Grand would do, like with big fences around it. You know, that's what you wanna do, and that's what you have to do. So that's the only way. I know there's people who use these, carbon dioxide cannons. You know, these are containers that make the gas and then it fires. One of they scare the birds away in the cornfields. I mean, they're pretty loud, but
If you're kids.
it'll scare more than just the birds and the deer. But the thing is, what we've also found is those things, the deer become accustomed to. I had a friend next door.
3 days.
Yeah, 3 or 4 days or a week later, the deer are like, yeah, well, every time that thing goes bad, nothing happens. Well, we'll just keep eating that. So that's not even an effective measure.
I guess it just reply back to him if you wish to.
So what I have is just a resolution that the correspondence from Mr. Elder be forwarded to the Souris River Rec Commission for information. And I would let Mr. Elder know that we have sent that along.
Somebody like to move that?
Yes.
All seconder? Councilor Hatch, all in favor?
In favor?
Thank you. Okay, so committee reports. We'll start with Ward 3, the South Zone. Councilor Fisher, you have a written report. Anything to add to it?
Just been driving a lot of roads and I got called, not out of bed, but 9:30 at night one night to go look at a culvert that was supposedly partially plugged by runoff and by ice, and it was not holding back the water at all. And by the next morning, I went by at 7 o'clock and it was all gone. So we got caught. The infrastructure just cannot handle it in such a rush. Like, we were doing really good until that one day. And then all of a sudden, we're finding a few inadequacies. I'm not saying it's just because of this year or whatever. Just the melt just dictated that we had problems for a day. What did we lose? 2 roads?
Grangers and Grossers, yeah, too.
And isn't there one north of Carl Gibbs?
And that was with the culvert that collapsed.
Yeah.
Yes.
So my question is, do we communicate any of these issues proactively on the webpage or the municipal site?
That they're
Or
down,
do we-
yeah.
Well, that we know that there's issues and that it's being addressed, or do we rely on councillors to make that connection?
What we have done in the past is if we've had a chance to go out and take a look and that we recognize there are areas that look like they're going to start being a concern, we would put the information out. When it happened quite as quickly as this one did, what we did was posted the fact that we closed the road and that we're working on them.
That's done on the website.
What it was in the village was just the ditches were full of snow and the water couldn't get through fast enough. So once we got it cleaned out, water was getting.
Most of them, yeah.
So the service where we send out the little text message, I find that particularly useful. Can we communicate something like that in the same manner? Is that gonna cost to us or?
No.
I mean, I think it's gonna go a long way if we put some things out like that proactively, like, listen, we're well aware of the fact that there's gonna be areas that are gonna be inundated, there's gonna be covers that are gonna be plugged. We are aware of it, we are looking into it, we are dealing with it, but we do have an exceptionally high melt rate and and you know that it's gonna happen. And then people just know it's not, nothing, they think we're not doing anything. But in fact, there's a lot happening, they just don't know it.
Yeah.
So maybe put a lot of those things to bed by sending something out like that proactively. It could be a short message just saying, hey, heads up, we know it's gonna melt, there's gonna be a few areas that are gonna be inundated, but we know there's covers that are plugged, we're addressing it as fast as we can. And leave it at that, and if you have any questions, concerns, contact your local council, which they do anyway. But the messaging is out there, I just think it will address a lot of the.
Why don't we blame global warming? Everybody else does.
Not warming anymore. It's now changed. It's not, you're behind.
No bullshit.
It's not warming anymore. It's now climate change.
On the webpage, they actually, Joni addressed that the next day. that-
Yeah, I know, I saw that, but I just wondered if we know something like this is coming, just like when it goes by, the infrastructure say, listen, the river is gonna be in flood, It's not hard to figure it out, and we probably could have just, and I'm not pointing any fingers or saying anything wrong, I'm just saying, how do we make this better? Maybe get some messaging out proactively, hey, we expect a pretty quick spring melt, so there will be some roads that are inundated, please be careful when you're driving, if you know of any roads that are flooded, give us a call, whatever, something like that will go a long way.
Councillor Fisher got a call from a fellow not even in his ward too.
That's fine.
As long as you're straight.
He's a popular guy.
No details. No.
Okay, let's, we'll carry on. Councillor Jones, you have anything to report? Okay. Zone Ward 2 is North Zone. Councillor Corey, anything to report?
I received quite a few emails and phone calls about road conditions. Responded to people that the municipality is out and addressing the issues as fast as they can. I did receive 2 requests about gravel reclamation. When are we gonna get started? I told them that we are gearing up for that, and that will happen as soon as the weather is conducive to it. There's no point in starting it now. I attended the Transportation Association of Canada's Small Municipal Integrated Committee, where they talk about anything and everything related to transportation, land use, whatever, in small communities. I think it was very valuable. I can share some of the feedback that I got with Chelsea or with council at some point. I also attended the same these are the spring technical meetings. They go over a matter of 2 weeks. It's actually open for membership. It's free. I would recommend that you get somebody like Chelsea maybe to attend these meetings. There's a lot of information that they can glean and learn from it. There's another one that's called, there's about 15 or 20 of the committees, and there's a lot of them that make it relevant to us. Like there's one on asset management, for example, that might be of great interest. This is municipalities across Canada, all sizes. The other one I attended was the payment management committee. And I shared some of the information as you requested with Chelsea on aggregate road condition assessments. That's enough.
All right, thank you. Councillor Hatch, you have a written report, anything to add?
I did tour the roads that were flooding, washed out. The one by Granger's is to do with a spring issue, which that's not fixable because it was iced up all winter and frozen. Unless we're gonna put a heat cable in it, it's not gonna fix it. And I've been in contact with Chelsea. Bob and I have given her advice, opinions on stuff, and that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McDonald, you have a written report, anything to add?
I put in my report about the water in town, and once we got it running, everything kind of went down the next day, so it isn't much of an issue now, so it's, there's definitely some ends of the pipes could be cleaned out down the road here, but it's, things happened quick, but it worked well. So that's all I have, thank you.
Councillor McGregor, you have a written report, anything to add to it?
Nothing to add.
Thank you. The report's there, nothing to add to it. CAO's report, anything to add to your?
Nothing further.
Finance officer, anything to add to your?
Nothing to add.
Public Works, has a written report, Fire Commissioner Fire, the chief's report is there. Be it resolved that the verbal and written reports be received. Please move that. Councillor Jones, seconder. Councillor Corey, all in favor?
In favor.
Carried. Okay. Now we have on the bylaws, we have bylaw number 34-2023. Be it resolved that bylaw number 34-2023, being a bylaw to amend aggregate transportation bylaw number 1266/06, with respect to updating the municipal name and address and to update fees, be read a second time. Please move that. Councillor McDonald, seconder. Councillor Corey, discussion. All in favor?
Yeah, fine, yeah.
All in favor?
Favor.
Carried. Be it resolved that the bylaw number 34-2023 be read a third and final time. This is a recorded vote. Can we please move it? Councillor Corey, seconder. Councillor McDonald. All in favor?
In favor.
Okay. Under unfinished business, we have the abuse and molestation policy. Be it resolved in accordance with the abuse and molestation policy number ER 016, the CAO and SRRC rep be named as a designated representative to receive reports of abuse or molestation from municipal representatives. All employees and municipal representatives who have interaction with children, youth, and or members of vulnerable population be screened by having regular criminal record checks and vulnerable persons and child abuse registry checks. And all employees or municipal representatives be required to take the training outlined as resources and said policy prior to signing the policy required acknowledgement. Somebody please move that. Councillor Jones, seconder. Councillor Corey, discussion.
My only question was that vulnerability sector or criminal record check, when it comes to cost, is who's going to carry that cost?
I believe when we looked into the criminal records check, because this isn't being done for a volunteer organization, there will be a cost to have it done. And I would imagine that the municipality or the Souris River Rec Commission will have to carry that cost. We also did find out that they will not conduct vulnerable persons and child abuse registry checks on anybody under the age of 16. So if we have any of our lifeguards or program operators, they won't be subject to that check. And-
But they should legally be under supervision
Yes,
of somebody that's responsible. And my other concern is just, are we gonna say that we're not carrying the cost, or we're carrying the cost, or who's carrying the cost? Maybe we just need to be explicit about that. Not a big cost, but it is a cost.
Yeah, I don't know, there's your.
And what's regular? If we say regular, is it, bi-monthly, bi-weekly, bi-annually, or annually?
I would be thinking annually is what we would be looking at.
That's a requirement we have to do.
So you want to make an amendment to this, to the resolution to include a costing?
Well, I just think we need to address, we need to add something to the resolution, just stating explicitly who bears the cost. So whether it's the applicant, or whether it's the municipality, or whether it's the rec commission. I just think we can't be silent on it, because then there's just leaves, room for interpretation. I know when I go get it for certain places, then the costs are covered. And, it's not all volunteer, but for most of the volunteer ones, the cost is waived, but you have to get a letter saying you're volunteering. If this is for somebody that's in regular employment or interim or part-time employment, I think we just need to address who bears the cost.
Question?
Okay, go ahead.
I'm already recognized by 3 different organizations with criminal record checks and child abuse registries. And they are recognized by the province and the RCMP federally. Do I have to have another one?
You can ask the RCMP to forward the details of your most recent criminal record check, and the same with your vulnerable sector check. So I do it once a year. I send it to Hope, to Sarah, to my employer, everything, all the people get it. So you don't have to do it more than once.
Well, it's every 3 years is when it's supposed to be done. So, but it just, like, I'm so overwhelmed and I'm sick of being fingerprinted because I share birthday with some criminal out in New Brunswick or something, and it's all additional costs. So when does it end? Like, let's quit micromanaging it and just, let's live.
Who pays your fees right now?
Some are me and some are the school division, so.
And today.
And the ambulance was, I had to pay it myself, so.
So Councillor Jones and Councillor Fleury, are you okay if I amend the clause that speaks to the criminal records check to add whereby expenses will be the responsibility of the municipality and Service River Rec Commission?
Yeah, I can support that, yeah.
Anything further? Okay, all in favor?
In favor.
Opposed?
No, I'm gonna keep my mouth shut.
Too late.
Okay, carried. Dangerous dog declaration. Whereas council on August 4th, 2022 declared 2 dogs described as brown mastiffs owned by Jason Nolan of Lot 2, 10277 PR 453 as dangerous dogs. Whereas after numerous attempts, the dogs were apprehended for assessment. Whereas it has been determined that the male dog that had caused injury to another animal has since passed away. Whereas a new male and the remaining female have been assessed by the animal control officer and a report filed indicating no aggressive behavior. Now therefore be it resolved that the determination of the dogs being dangerous dogs be rescinded, and be it further resolved that owners be required to adhere to the conditions outlined in the report of the animal control officer, those being the installation of a lock and a fence gate and tethering animals when they are loose in the yard, whereby the animal control officer will be requested to conduct follow-up visits to determine compliance. Will you please move that? Councilor McDonald, seconder. Councilor Forey, discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just curious, what had happened to the older male? Was he?
I don't know if he passed away from natural causes.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I remember that in the report, correct.
All in favor?
In favor.
Carried. General business, be it resolved that the March 2023 electronic approval by council for the purchase of a 2011 Kubota 4x4 tractor with attachments as outlined in the bill of sale with Murray Milk dated March 27, 2023 be confirmed. Will you please move that? Councilor Hatch, seconder. Councilor Corey, discussion. All in favor?
In favor.
Thank you, Councillor.
Be it resolved that the proceeds from the sale of the backhoe be transferred to the equipment reserve. Please move that. Councillor Hatt, second by Councillor Jones. How much did we get discussion wise?
15% less than 32 grand,
15% less.
15 too much. Disgusting, really.
That's a pretty good number though.
Well, the number was good, but Joni has to hammer a better deal next time.
Right?
$27,200.
Yeah.
Did they pick it up yet?
They have not picked it up. There's been conversations ongoing and they didn't have the appropriate transportation yesterday or today. They realized they're gonna need ramps and whatnot, so it will be next week.
All in favor?
In favor.
Carried. Be it resolved that administration be directed to prepare a policy to prohibit smoking in all municipal equipment. May you please move that. Councillor Jones, second by Councillor Hatch. Discussion.
Does that include vaping? I think it should.
Do you want to amend that resolution?
I just think that anybody that's a non-smoker should not have to climb into a piece of equipment that someone has been smoking in and have to deal with that, health-wise.
Smoking or vaping, both of them. One is actually worse than the other.
Mr. Chairman, did I not read in there that it was municipal buildings and equipment?
Well, municipal buildings fall under public buildings.
Under regulation.
Yeah,
So
okay.
that's already-
That's
already
good. I just
provincial.
wondered why, yeah.
I checked provincial regulations to see if it had any comment about equipment and it did not. So,
Who did second?
Councillor Jones and Councillor Hatch, if you're okay with me including vaping.
Okay, all in favor?
In favor.
Carried. Establishment of a new council committee, did you want to give us a little insight into that?
It is a request coming from Councillor Fleury. And maybe what we would do is just get some information from Councillor Fleury as to what he would like this committee to be and possibly what the mandates might be. I'm not sure if it's something that could maybe fall within the mandate of the Transportation Committee, or if this is something that you wanted separate from that, in which case we'd need to determine if it's a standing committee or an ad hoc.
The scary part is I can't remember why it's there.
It's a long time ago.
Oh, man. So if that was the one, I looked at the one committee and the public works manager was, if I recall, the person who would make a number of determinations as to the safety and the standards of construction and the design, geometric and stuff like
Yes.
that. I don't know that your public works manager is typically equipped or trained or qualified to do that. I think it does assign a bit of risk to the municipality. I know it maybe sound like I'm overcomplicating things, but it will only be an issue when something goes wrong, when somebody makes a determination that there's insufficient sight distance or a driveway in a dangerous spot and somebody comes around a corner and gets hurt. So I'm just wondering if we want to revise that. Is it the bylaw, I think? Yeah, the bylaw.
Yeah.
Review that bylaw and just look at what we truly feel, what is in the scope of capability of the public works manager. And then if there are items that are not, and I'm convinced that there are, how do we deal with it? Do we refer it outside for expert advice, or how do we deal with that? I'm just concerned about that.
Would it be better under the transportation committee? Don't think it'd be.
I think it would be a good place for it to be discussed under the transportation committee, because there's some other initiatives I'd like to add into that at the time. But I think that would be a good place for it.
Yeah, or we can start there, and if we find that the transportation committee is not really fitting for that, then we can make a new one after that.
Yeah, no, I think it would fit really well under the transportation committee.
So let's do it under that, and then we'll, I guess, Councillor Hatch.
Does this have anything to do with your development plan that you were talking about?
No, that's different.
Different.
No, that's different. That's not the planning committee.
Okay.
Land committee is a separate committee, so that's to do with land use, planning, subdivision, that stuff. This one is just purely about, what I read was the public works manager is expected to make decisions on technical issues that I don't think they're necessarily qualified for.
Okay.
That's my only concern, and I think as a transportation committee, we can review those, identify the ones. Like, we can't expect our public works manager to design a culvert.
No.
You know, or design the geometric requirements for a road. And we've got some roads that are now somewhat substandard because our public works manager was maybe not aware of the design heuristics that should have been applied. And that's just a classic example of one of the things. So if we know that they don't necessarily have all the expertise, they either need the training or the advice to make those calls. So we just have to decide how we deal with it. So we don't get any, and right now there's a section of road, if you went over the side, you would roll your car, that would come back to us. We reconstructed that road, the side slopes are too steep. It's like 2-to-1, 1-to-1 even. So we inherit that risk by allowing that construction to have been done the way it is. And that's the kind of thing I want to address. I don't think we need to take that.
So we'll do it through transportation committee, and then we'll, if we find that's not adequate for that committee, we'll make a new committee.
Okay, so what I have right now is be it resolved that existing policies be reviewed by the transportation committee to ensure appropriate authorities on technical aspects.
Good start.
Let's move that.
I'll move that.
Okay, second. Councillor Hatch. All in favor?
In favor.
Okay, be it resolved that the grant request from the Assiniboine River Basin Initiative in the amount of $250 be approved. Please move that. Councillor Fisher, seconder. Councillor Jones, discussion. This, we're within our budget limitation.
It certainly falls within the budget. We've got the unallocated, and the Assiniboine River Basin is one of the committees that we do have involvement on. I believe their request of $250 if they are working as an unfunded committee probably isn't unreasonable.
Can you maybe just refresh my memory, what's their mandate? What do they do?
Councillor Fisher, you sit on some of the
Oh, God,
Assiniboine
yeah.
River Basin.
I'm still confused after 7 years. So, basically, we look at drainage and improvements to, how shall we say it? Degradation of ditches or runways, trying to reclaim waterways, water retention. It's to hold water back and before a flood to take out a road and then slowly releasing it after. We have all kinds of drainage projects. We also look at off-site watering and everything for livestock and, there's a lot of stuff. It's perennial cropping, it's, what the hell else is there? I don't know.
That covered a lot.
That covers
Did it?
one, yeah.
That's a mouthful.
I got a question. So this is already funded by the province, this group?
That I'm not sure of.
Like I'm on a conservation group too.
But we have to put money into it. We have, per capita.
Yes, we do have the per capita.
Yeah.
And I think the Assiniboine River Basin Group is different from the organization that the province funds. And then they get into a bunch of subcommittees, so I don't know whether that's kind of part of this.
This Assiniboine Basin Group, what I've seen them out, it goes right in Saskatchewan, like it's a huge area.
No, it goes all the way up past the
Your
shovel.
local ones here.
But it also, this river and
Yeah.
the Little Souris and
I get a little touchy when I think we're doing something government should be doing anyway. That's really where my focus is coming from. I'm not knowing what you guys are doing, so I don't want to take anything away, but if it really comes with working on watershed planning, and whether that spans provincial borders or not, what are we doing? Is it because government's not getting to it that this initiative is started? So
Was there?
I'm not opposing the grant, but I just don't really know how much are we achieving. Are we managing operational issues when floods occurs?
Like I don't know what
program you're
involved with. I'm on the what is it, the Central Assiniboine Watershed District, and I find none of the activity that, so I'm appointed to that group, but everything's towards Boulder. There's
Yeah,
nothing
but I mean, there's a
happening.
group of people, there's a floor of people at 280 Broadway.
Yeah.
That are tasked with provincial drainage.
Yeah.
All the watersheds, every beach, every drain. So
And they never get outside the perimeter of Winnipeg.
maybe we should hold that
So
accountable.
they're looking at us for advisement more than anything, so.
I'm not opposed to it, I just need to understand, I just hate when it's like the whole ambulance issue, you know, we should have paid for ambulances in our community, and why we don't have it? It's just, I mean, don't get me started, but I mean,
Yeah.
that's just feels to me like another one of those where, like, we just don't feel the need to get to it, so you guys, if it's a problem for you, you guys fix it, you take care of it.
Called offloading, but in case
That's exactly.
now this River Basin Initiative, they're a nonprofit, incorporated, international nonprofit organization, operates in Manitoba, North Dakota, and Saskatchewan. They're funded by state and provincial governments as well as municipal, city, and counties, along with commodity groups and not-for-profit organizations. They're by everybody, it looks like.
So it sounds to me then their mandate is more aligned with protecting the environmental sanctuary of this watershed and this basin as opposed to really addressing drainage issues. Yeah, I mean, it might spin off from that, but great. Anyway, thanks, I just not getting an idea.
Global warming, you have,
I just don't know
Does that answer your
if we
question?
should be just, it's a minuscule amount of money, but I just don't think we just have unlimited funds to dole out to these things.
so I guess what we have to look at, and like, you know, go back to ambulance or whatever the case may be, is that if you don't put the money in, we don't get any, because if governments don't put an adequate amount of money in, as it is with ambulance, and they eliminate all these people, then you're left with no services. And so we went through that discussion many times in the Southwest Caucus where we have people, where communities like Brandon, who bought an ambulance for $400,000 and is gonna man it for $300,000. That's how it come out of their taxpayers because they wanted another ambulance. They only have two in the city of Brandon. And they're constantly coming out of the city of Brandon to do ambulance pickups. So there's that. Then there's doctor and nurse retention, or, you know, trying to get nurses and doctors, all that kind of stuff. They don't cover it within the provincial funding, but communities are saying, we're without it, so we gotta do something. So if you don't fund it, you have nothing. So it's always it's a tough situation, and I think this is one of them that, this speaks to me more to farmland and I think farmland security. I think that the water situation is very critical in our parts of the world, especially coming from Saskatchewan, North Dakota. That is an area that's, I mean, it's such an important that the US Marines, our engineers, I should say, are looking after that. They all need the dam in Saskatchewan. They're the ones that operate. So we're constantly worried on the caucus again of water from Saskatchewan that they're letting out at their whim and coming into our first basin, et cetera, and getting into into the parks.
But that's being addressed at ministerial, interprovincial ministerial level. Supposedly being addressed. And then I asked the second person, over fine, so do we really think we can change anything at this level, you know? I mean, that's my, so.
Yeah.
No, and I'll go the next level, so. In my company, if somebody is part of an organization like that, there's an expectation that if you attend those meetings, you bring back some feedback. If nothing else to say, you know, why did we pay for you to go there? Or why did we contribute to your membership or whatever like that? I don't want to make it any worse than it is already. I'm just asking. So maybe if you guys attend the next meeting, come back and say, hey, we went to this meeting, we spoke about this. Maybe that's in your council report. I just think that'd be a good idea because then we won't be asking these questions. I would be in the council report and say, okay, you know, Mike and Craig went to the meeting and they talked about these things. And I'm like, okay, now I get what you guys are at, you know, which is what they're addressing.
Part of the committee reports, it should be coming in there, and I don't get too, you know, exhausted with them, but at the same time, that's what we should be covering off in our committee.
I'll leave it at that.
So, Councillor Hatch, fee wise, you're asking questions about that. Are you happy with those?
I just still feel that we have multiple overlapping organizations happening here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like I've sent personal emails regarding the EMR service too, and no response on that.
I have been personally involved and just, it is so frustrating. Like 2 levels of government can't make an approval. Like it just, and one guy went on strategic 6-week holiday and well, we need his approval before we can get on with the next step and things. Like it's just an absolute quagmire. Like it's ridiculous.
It's
It's
bureaucratic.
very frustrating.
Yeah, I'm not gonna, but I know most of those people personally, so I mean, I really do. I can call Chris Prock tomorrow morning and tell him, listen, we've got a problem here, we need somebody to look at this. He's the acting director of water management now. I mean, I know I was speaking one with the deputy minister last night. I mean, it's not like I'm bragging about it, but I do have a relationship with people and we can leverage that. I have no problem leaving them. I know I'm a counselor. I have no problem leaving that relationship to get things done if that's what it takes.
Yeah, but there's a lot of finger pointing out there with bureaucrats, I mean, but in any case. So we have this on as
As an approved.
Yeah.
And if council isn't comfortable, then simply
Well,
defeat the motion, and I would let them know that
Yeah.
the request was
They had this following the request, so. Anything further on that, we'll call for the vote. All in favor of the $250 fund?
In favor.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, be it resolved that the resolution proposed by the municipality of Pipestone with respect to emergency medical responders be supported. And that's just what they're forwarding on to the provincial government as far as their concerns, et cetera, on training, and everybody got their handout in regard to that. It's pretty exhaustive. It's a lot of these communities are having issues trying to their emergency response. Our people, I just got word last night that we got approved. So now we just have to, we got a license. We're just a matter of crossing the T's and dotting the I's right now, final stage. So we'll be able to get into operation.
So we got proof for what now?
This is for our EMR.
Okay.
So we have
First response.
yeah, emergency medical, yeah, so that we have, if there's an emergency situation, our people will be advised by 911.
Yeah.
And if it's in our area, they will attend.
Yeah.
They can't pick anybody up, but they can apply,
Yeah.
they can, apply emergency medical.
Which is what we bought the extra equipment for.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I would note that the contracts arrived and have been signed.
Okay.
Is that just in our municipality? Like, will they respond to, or?
They'll just give us a 911 call.
Okay.
So I don't know what exactly the context of that will be. I
It's
presume.
basically your fire district.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay, that's what I wondered, yeah.
Because it's supposed to follow the fire.
Okay, perfect. That's just so, somebody else, I can tell them that. Thank you.
I would presume if it's just outside the boundaries.
Well, there's gonna be,
There's a crossover, I'm sure.
there's gonna be crossover, yes, because,
If it's mutual.
Helping
aid,
it mutual
fire,
aid,
that's
yeah.
what I was wondering.
it's gonna be exactly that. If there's multiple vehicle crash or whatever, we'll be going across the border, so.
We're in an anomaly here. I discussed this with Lane Wanless is the one from Pipestone with this, and he's very up to date with, well, EMS completely. We have so many certified people within our community here and the surrounding area, on our fire department, that we're already in a position of either on ambulance or really close to being on. So we had that. These other communities are finding that, be Pipestone as an example, they don't have as many certified, so they gotta get these people trained. Well, now they want 320 hours of training for these people in Winnipeg. And they just don't have the time these people work, et cetera, so we're just asking, or they're asking for, get this thing together so people can have good medical response. So that, we're just supporting this. We're not saying that we're doing anything else other than supporting. Okay. So we have, we're second. Somebody's move it?
I'll move it.
Okay, seconder? Counselor Jones? All in favor?
In favor?
Okay, carried. Okay, request for IT information. Do you want to lead us off on that?
I would. So a request has come in. There's a couple of quick ways that information could be provided. So we could simply go by the computer line item in our budget document and provide information from 2019 till now. That doesn't provide the breakdown, I believe, that the request is asking for. A second way to go at it would be to do it by payee. So pull up what John Robbins' computer company versus what Kelty is being paid. That still doesn't provide a breakdown because in both instances, there have been times where equipment has been purchased by the vendor for us. If council is interested in us going more in depth than that, it is going to take administrative time to go back and pull invoices and check to see how much of it was IT service versus provision of equipment or whatever. And then came the concern that I have is if we get into too detailed a breakdown, are we then actually starting to provide information publicly on what steps council has taken to ensure that we are adequately secure and not getting into the breach situation or the cyber attack situation. So I just wanted some direction from the council as to how in depth you are interested in us going.
What's the nature of the request? Are we just trying to understand?
I think that what it is just a comparison to what we were paying before.
For what we're paying now.
Compared
And
to
there's a good reason for that.
Yeah.
There's no issue, so I don't know that we have to go into any level of detail. I think we can simply say that and I will say that on the same small municipality integrated committee, the hottest topic of discussion was the amount of ransomware attacks on small municipalities and how crippling that is for those communities, because very few, if any of them, have the resources to deal with it financially or IT wise to restore their systems to something functional. So for me, it's merely a matter of saying, listen, we went from one provider to a second provider that's more sophisticated, that can offer us the level of protection and IT security that we need to meet the demand based on the current state of ransomware attacks that has been experienced across small municipalities. I don't know that we have to go into any more detail.
And I think going back a little farther, and I don't know the exact date of, I think it was Gladstone that had the cyber attack, and then these criminals took money from the municipality. And I think at that time, council of the day wanted to get their head around this and make sure that we were protecting the municipality. We recognize that a single operator in IT was not really what we thought was safe for our systems. And so we went to a bigger company. Yes, it's more money. It was bound to be. We had a lot more equipment purchased to make sure we got it. We don't want to expose our cybersecurity, what we have.
It's not for me.
If we want to use their strictly dollar amounts, use the budget amount. Yes, it's going to be quite a bit different, but I would think that'd be the best way to go. Overall, yes, it increased substantially, but we're protected.
And it's a necessity. In the room that I was in this past week, there was probably about 16 to 20 small municipalities. And I will tell you that I think 4 to 5 of them have had ransomware attacks in the last 2 years. And all of them to the point where they were like shut down. They weren't didn't work. Their transportation system didn't work. Nothing worked. They couldn't get both out. They couldn't do nothing. So, I mean, it's just a no-brainer. We have to get that level of protection. And if we're convinced that the previous provider did not have the sophistication required to do that, then I think it's an absolute, just another non-issue. We have to do it.
Okay, Councilman McGregor, you got to add to that?
Yeah, no, I agree with what's being said. I think Councillor Furry said it very well. I think that should be almost word for word what we say back. And, to be blunt, you would have to be an idiot to sit in this meeting and talk about what sort of cybersecurity things we are doing. It would be an absolute ridiculous thing for us to do. So, you know, I think that I'm just sitting here contemplating. The only thing I had to add was, you know, whether we want to provide direction that, you know, to administration that one notification or one, you know, response be sent on this, and then, you know, instruct Joni to have no further communication on this, because, you know, we know that this ratepayer won't be satisfied. This will become the new issue of the day. And I'm tired of wasting time and resources on this particular ratepayer. So I would like to see one communication and then, you know, not responding any further, because this would just be a ridiculous thing for us to put out a bunch of information on. And I think most ratepayers will understand that.
Okay, so what I've got then is be it resolved that the requester be informed that the municipality moved from one provider to a second provider to ensure necessary computer security, whereby overall annual computer costs can be conveyed and no further communication will be undertaken.
Somebody please move that. Councillor Fisher, seconder. Councillor Hatch, all in favor?
In favor.
Carried. Okay, be it resolved that this regular meeting now adjourns to an in-camera meeting to discuss a personnel matter, a matter in this preliminary stages, and a legal matter as per subsection 152(3)(b)(2).
Sorry, that's,
Did I get it wrong?
I had to change that because we don't have legal issues.
Okay, be it resolved that this regular meeting now adjourns to an in-camera meeting to discuss a personnel matter as per subsection 152(3)(b)(2) of the Municipal Acts, and all matters discussed in camera are confidential until discussed in open meeting as per section 83(1)(d) of the Municipal Act. Somebody please move that. Councillor McDonald, second to Councillor Forey, all in favor?
In favor.
Great. Okay. So be it resolved that this in-camera meeting does now resume back to regular meeting. Can we please move that? Councillor Jones, second to Councillor McDonald, all in favor? Carried. Okay, so,
CAO performance review.
okay, so, oh, yeah, I got you. Great. Be it resolved that the performance review of the CAO be received and salary increases be made in accordance with the appointment contract. Can we please move that? Councillor Hatch, seconder. Councillor Jones, all in favor? Okay, you have something else,
I
Sarah?
do. So the next resolution under potential code of conduct breach is be it resolved that as the council code of conduct bylaw does not include application by members of the public, and whereas council has reviewed the complaint and determined that it does not meet the criteria for a code of conduct investigation, no further action be taken.
Please move that. Councillor Fisher, seconder. Councillor Corey, all in favor? Opposed, none? I just stepped myself off.
Yeah.
Okay, so then.
Adjourn.
Be it resolved that the meeting does now adjourn to meet again on Friday, May 19th, 2023 at 9 a.m. at the municipal office in Wawanesa. Please move that. Councillor Corey, second to Councillor Fisher, all in favor? Okay, so we'll just wait to see
Now you can hit the stop record button.
if it's there. If it's there, if not, we'll deal with it.
Oh, okay.